Hi, today we are going to see about amniocentesis. So before seeing about amniocentesis, we should know about amniotic. So amniotic fluid is the fluid that surrounds and protects a baby during pregnancy. Amniotic fluid is a clear, pale yellow fluid made by the fetus. This fluid contains fetal cells and various chemicals produced by the body. At first, the amniotic fluid is mainly consists of only water with electrolytes. But about 12 to 14 weeks, the liquid contains proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, and phospholipids, and also urea. Amniotic fluid normally has a pH of 7 to 7.5. Its volume changes during trimester between 600 to 1100 ml. So this is about the amniotic fluid. Any abnormality of this volume may cause problem to the fetus, such as polyhydramnios and oligohydramnios. So polyhydramnios means excessive amount of amniotic fluid in the amniotic sac, that is more than 1100 ml. It is considered as polyhydramnios. In case of oligohydramnios, which is characterized by reduced amount of amniotic fluid in the amniotic sac, that is less than 500 ml. In general, the removal of amniotic fluid by using a needle through a maternal gravid abdomen has been done since 1877. It was reported as a therapeutic modality to release amniotic fluid from fetuses to detect the malformities. So this amniocentesis is considered as a procedure for identifying the malformities. It has been done since 1877. So let's see what are the benefits of amniotic fluid. So in amniocentesis procedure to detect the abnormalities, it protects the fetus from outside environmental injuries. It regulates the temperature of the fetus. It allows easier fetal movements and promotes muscular and skeletal development. It helps in the formation of gastrointestinal tract. It also helps the baby's lungs to be developed. So these are some of the benefits of amniotic fluid. Let's go into the procedure. What is amniocentesis? So amniocentesis is a procedure performed usually in the beginning of pregnancy to examine a baby's chromosomes. During this procedure, amniotic fluid is removed for testing. Cells within the amniotic fluid are examined in the lab to test for specific fetal disorders. The entire amniocentesis procedure lasts approximately 45 minutes, most of which involves a detailed ultrasound examination. So this procedure should be done as early as possible. So with that result, it will be helpful for the mother to decide about the pregnancy. Suppose if the babies have any abnormal chromosomes, in those conditions, the mother may decide whether to continue the pregnancy or to abort the baby. So we can give some suggestions for the mother regarding that pregnancy. So it should be done as early as possible to detect any abnormalities. So this is just a simple procedure. It is done with the help of ultrasound guidance. They will be removing a small amount of fluid to check whether the baby has any anomalies. What are the indications of doing this amniocentesis? Any women whose ultrasound results indicate a potential fetal chromosomal anomaly. So during ultrasound, if we detect anything abnormality in the sense, they will advise for amniocentesis. Any woman who has a family history or whose partner has a family history of one or more incident of chromosomal anomalies or genetic disorders with a high recurrence risk. So here, if the couple's family has any history of any abnormalities, they can go for this amniocentesis. It is also possible for women under the age of 40 with no history of genetic disorder to have an amniocentesis. It is a matter of personal choice. So usually we will be telling this in elderly priming. Okay, in those conditions there is some chance of getting this abnormalities. So we will be telling them to do this amniocentesis. Needle through the abdomen, and they will take the amniotic fluid of around 1 ounce and they will test it for any anomalies. So this is about the procedure. The amniotic fluid has cells that the skin of the developing baby has shed, as well as his or her waste products. So the waste products which is excreted by the baby and also the skin shed by the baby, all will be present in the amniotic fluid. So each cell from the baby in the fluid contains their complete set of DNA, that is the genetic information. Analyzing these cells helps the doctors to assess the fetus health and detect any potential abnormalities. So the entire amniocentesis appointment lasts approximately 45 minutes, most of which involves a detailed ultrasound examination. So this amniocentesis procedure will take around 45 minutes to complete. So I think you have understand. So this is the diagrammatic representation of the procedure. So first, under the guidance of ultrasound, a sterile needle is inserted through the abdominal wall into the amniotic sac. The second one, a small amount of amniotic fluid is withdrawn through the needle. Third, the amniotic fluid contains fetal cells which are separated from the amniotic fluid. So here the fetal cells are separated from the amniotic fluid in the third step. Then the fetal cells are cultured in the culture medium. Then the tests are then performed on the cultured cells through chemical analysis, DNA analysis, chromosomal analysis. So these are the studies that are done with the fetal cells. So this is the diagrammatic representation about the procedure. What can be detected through an amniocentesis? Nearly all chromosome disorders, including Down syndrome, as well as sex chromosome abnormalities such as Turner syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome. So these disorders can be diagnosed by doing this amniocentesis. Several hundred genetic disorders such as cystic fibrosis and sickle cell disease are identified. This test is not used to look for all of them. But if your baby is at increased risk of one or more of these disorders, in most cases amniocentesis can usually tell you whether he has the disease or not. If there is any chance, if there is any abnormalities during the ultrasound, and if the doctor sees anything abnormally, then he will advise the couple to do for amniocentesis. Neural tube defects such as spina bifida can also be identified. Then amniocentesis is the only way to obtain information about fetal lung maturity also. So these are the things that can be detected in amniocentesis. Amniocentesis at second trimester. So during the time of second trimester, for what are the conditions can be identified, or in what cases we will be telling the client to do this amniocentesis, in the sense women over 35 years of old. So this comes under elderly priming. So here we will advise. Then previous child or pregnancy with birth defect. So if the couple has any previous history of abnormal baby, we will be advising them to go for amniocentesis. Then family history of genetic disorders. Then have an abnormal ultrasound. Then risk of neural tube defects such as spina bifida. So these are some of the cases or conditions where we will be advising the mother to go for amniocentesis at second trimester. So next, amniocentesis in third trimester. It is done to determine the maturity of fetal lungs, whether the fetus has fully matured or not. To identify that, we can do this amniocentesis. Next, to diagnose a uterine infection. To rule out any infection, we will be advising. Then to check for anemia in baby with RH incompatibility. Then evaluate the baby's status for infection or any other illness. So these are some of the reason why amniocentesis is done in third trimester. So this amniocentesis detects Down syndrome, cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, sickle cell disease. So what do you mean by Down syndrome? So Down syndrome, it is a condition in which a child is born with an extra copy of their 21st chromosome. It is also known as trisomy 21. This causes physical and mental developmental delay and disabilities for the babies. So this is known as Down syndrome. Next we can see about cystic fibrosis. So what is meant by cystic fibrosis means it is an inherited life-threatening disorder that damages the lungs and the digestive system. So it is an hereditary disorder which affects the exocrine glands. So it affects the glands that produces mucus, sweat and digestive system. So these things will be affected in cystic fibrosis. Next, muscular dystrophy. So what is meant by the muscular dystrophy means it is a hereditary disorder or a condition marked by progressive weakening and wasting of muscles will be present in muscular dystrophy. Next is sickle cell anemia. So sickle cell anemia is one of a group of disorders known as sickle cell disease. So sickle cell is an inherited red blood cell disorder in which there aren't enough healthy red blood cells. So here the red blood cells are not a healthy one to carry oxygen throughout the body. Normally the RBCs will be flexible and round shaped which easily moves through the blood vessels. But in case of the sickle cell disease, the red blood cells are shaped like a sickles or crescent moon in structure. So these rigid and sticky cells can get stuck in some blood vessels which can slow or block the flow of blood and also the oxygen to the parts of the body. So the oxygenation to all parts of the body will be getting affected in case of sickle cell disease. So these are the conditions that can be identified in amniocentesis. So next is the after procedure. What should be done after doing this amniocentesis? So we have to advise the mother to be in bed rest for 24 hours. Then no strenuous work, exercise for 72 hours. No air travel for 72 hours. Seek urgent medical attention if she feels any shivering, high fever of 38 degrees Celsius or more. Then persistent lower back pain and abdominal pain. So these are the things should be advised to the mother after the procedure. Amniocentesis result will either be positive or negative. Okay. So negative in the sense it is considered to be normal. Positive in the sense there is any abnormality. So in case of negative test results, for most women who have amniocentesis, results of the procedure will be negative. That is, their baby will not have any disorders that were tested for. It is possible to have a negative result from amniocentesis, but the baby may still be born with the condition tested for or another chromosomal condition. This is because a normal test result does not exclude every chromosomal disorder. So we cannot identify everything, every anomaly with this amniocentesis. We cannot get the 100% result. Okay. Maybe for some disease we will be doing this amniocentesis, but during birth we will be the baby will be born with some other chromosomal chromosomal disorders which we have not checked. So there is many chance for this misinterpretation. In case of positive test results, if the test result is positive, it means the baby has the disorder that was being tested for. One should be aware that there is no cure for the majority of chromosomal conditions. So she needs to consider her option carefully. So the options may include continuing with her pregnancy while getting information and advice about the condition, so she is prepared for carrying her baby. So here the mother will be given the option whether to continue the pregnancy or to abort the baby. If she is willing to continue the pregnancy, she will be advised about the condition of the baby, how the baby will be born, how the baby will be progressing. Everything should be explained to the mother. In case if she wants to end her pregnancy, options for ending her pregnancy will depend on how many weeks pregnant she is when taking the decision. So depends on that the pregnancy may be terminated. So this is about the result, whether it is positive or negative. And what are the risk factors of doing this amniocentesis? So there may be chance for bleeding or leaking of amniotic fluid from the puncture site. Then a lower abdominal cramp may be present, risk of infection through skin and sac rupture, miscarriage, preterm labor. So these are some of the risk factors that may occur after doing this amniocentesis procedure. Let's see what are the complications of amniocentesis. So in the complications of amniocentesis, there is chance of miscarriage. There is a small risk that amniocentesis can cause a miscarriage, the loss of pregnancy. The risk is estimated to be around 1 in 100 pregnancies. Then clubfoot. Amniocentesis may cause clubfoot in your baby. This is when the baby is born with a deformed ankle and foot. However, the likelihood of this happening is higher if you have amniocentesis before 15 weeks of the pregnancy. Then rhesus disease. It is a condition where proteins in a pregnant woman's blood attack her baby's blood cells. Rhesus disease is only possible if the mother's blood is rhesus negative and the baby's blood is rhesus positive. If this is the case, amniocentesis could trigger rhesus disease if the mother's blood is exposed to baby's blood during the procedure. Next, injury from the needle. So during amniocentesis, the placenta may be punctured by the needle. Sometimes this is necessary to assess the amniotic fluid. If this happens, the puncture wound usually heals without any more problems developing. Ultrasound is now commonly used to guide the needle. This significantly reduces the risk of injury. Next is infection. In very rare case, an infection may develop with the procedure. If the procedure introduces bacteria in the amniotic sac, this can cause a high temperature, fever, tenderness over the abdomen. It can cause contractions also. One should seek medical attention if she has any of these symptoms. The risk of developing a serious infection from amniocentesis is estimated to be less than 1 in 1000 population. So these are some of the complications that occurs due to amniocentesis. So finally, we will see the nursing interventions. So as a nurse, we have to assess the mother from the when the mother comes to the hospital for this procedure till she leaves the hospital. Okay. So we have to assess the vital signs continuously after an hour after the procedure to check whether the mother has any problem with this procedure. Then reviewing the obstetrical history. So we have to get the history done before this procedure for what she has come here for doing this amniocentesis. Then monitor the heart rate and maternal heart rate by electronic fetal heart rate monitoring. So the baby's heart rate should be monitored whether the baby has any risk after doing this amniocentesis. Check the punctured site for any bleeding or leaking of fluid. So here during amniocentesis there is a high risk for bleeding through the puncture site and also leaking of fluid. So we have to advise the mother to be in bed rest for 24 hours, and we have to monitor the puncture site also. We have to explain the mother whether she has any discomfort such as fever, back pain. If she has any complaint, we have to advise the mother to report. So we have seen about amniocentesis. So in the conclusion, amniocentesis is a safe procedure that can provide helpful information about the health of a fetus. It may be offered to women who are at a high risk of having a baby with genetic disease. The risk of miscarriage of amniocentesis is about 0.5% or 1 in 200. It is the patient decision whether the benefits of the procedure outweigh the risk. So we have seen about amniocentesis. What is the definition, indication, procedure, what are the risk factors, complication, and nursing interventions. Hope you have understood the procedure. Thank you everyone.